So my name is Dee Wakefield. I'm a digital currency specialist. I've been involved with cryptocurrencies for about 5 years now. I've seen quite a bit during that time. I'm very passionate about cryptocurrencies. So today I will talk about why cryptocurrency. It has a lot to do with why I got involved with cryptocurrencies and a lot to do with why people look at cryptocurrencies at this stage. So in Australia, it's about 20% of people who own cryptocurrencies. Not all of them tell their accountants, unfortunately, but that will change as well. But generally, there's two main reasons why people look towards cryptocurrencies, and I'll simplify it a little bit because I've got only 10 minutes. But the first one is decentralization. So a lot of people have no idea how centralized the system is we live in. So please grab your phones and please put in this web address. It's finance.yahoo.com. If you grab your phones, please, and do that, if you have your phone here. And then once the website comes up, then type in the search bar IBM, for example, Pepsi, Tesla, Facebook, Amazon. And once you're there, there's a summary, but if you scroll to the right, there's holders. So what I would like you to look at is the top institutional holders of these companies. And Darren, have you checked? Yeah, so Darren, so you've got Pfizer? Vanguard and BlackRock. And Tracy, we've got Facebook as well. Okay, no, that's all right. But what you will find is it's Vanguard and BlackRock. They're the top institutional holders. And essentially what that does, it's a monopoly. And the problem with monopolies gives a lot of power and a lot of control. And that comes with a price, because in my experience, there's no such thing as a benevolent dictator, okay? So raise your hand if you trust the government. We've got one person, all right. So not many hands are going up. And there's a reason for it. And we've seen in the last couple of years, it's an excellent example of how the power was taken away from the individual and has gone to governments, to corporations and NGOs like the World Health Organization and World Economic Forum. And of course we know these are actually private people with their private interests. And that has actually an impact on all our lives. Anyway, so cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are decentralized, which means it gives the power back to you individually. And that is really important. Now one other thing, the CBDCs are coming, which is central bank digital currencies. How many of you have heard that soon you will actually use an Australian digital dollar, not cash? How many of you have heard about that? Got 1, 2, 3? That is not a lot of people. So you are not aware that central bank digital currencies are coming, meaning you will use an Australian digital dollar. And that's the problem. That is the problem. With cryptocurrencies, and we're talking about decentralized cryptocurrencies, you can take that power back. Because if you use the Australian digital dollar, it's 100% transparent and 100% controlled by the government and the central banks. And you can look into China with the social credit system. Have you heard of the social credit system in China? And I see quite a few people nodding. So that is actually something that people do know about, and it's important to understand that. Social credit system, essentially you cross a red light, and then when you hit the pavement on the other side of the road, you get a ping on your phone telling you that they just deducted the fine straight from your account. And that is quite scary. In my book, that is scary. So that is why people are looking at cryptocurrencies. Now, the second reason is inflation. I'd like you to grab your phone again and then type in the search bar, FRED, it's actually for Federal Reserve, M2 money stock chart or graph. So FRED M2 money stock graph or chart. And when you click on that link, a graph will show you how much money has been printed. It's essentially a measurement for the money supply. How much money has been printed in the last couple of years. When I saw the graph, it sent a chill down my back. Now, money has been printed out of thin air. I think we are all educated enough to understand that money has been printed out of thin air since 71, since it's been taken off the gold standard. And what that means is that it's more complex, but we've got a fiat currency system that brings a lot of inflation. And so the cost of living has risen while the wages have essentially been staying the same. And a single wage middle class could live well when I was a child, which is about 30 years ago, but that doesn't work anymore. Now, when you look at cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, they've got a capped supply. It's a limited supply of 21 million Bitcoin ever mined. And what that does, it's a deflationary system. So with increasing demand, the supply is shrinking. In a free market, the value rises. And that's also why Bitcoin had that absolute astronomic rise in the last few years. 2 years ago, Paul Tudor Jones was the first one to announce that he is using Bitcoin, purchasing Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. And that's why a lot of people now start diversifying their super with cryptocurrencies, again as a hedge against inflation. And it spread their risk across different asset classes. Now, since 2020, many institutional investors have come into the cryptocurrency market, and even countries like El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, which is huge, and that's just the first country to do that. Many more are in the works. So I've got quite a few clients who diversified their super into crypto. I have 2 years ago, and I've never looked back since then. And it's even people who are risk adverse to diversify their super because they see the writing on the wall. Sometimes people have an issue. Sometimes people have an issue with the volatility because there's volatility in the market. At the same time, there's, for example, precious metals tokens. So that's not just a kind of a token or a crypto that's pegged to the price. You actually own the precious metals. They're sitting in custody through an exchange for you, and you own the gold, silver, platinum that you buy. And there's much less volatility, so a lot of people are looking at that. So as mentioned, CBDCs are coming, and we'll all use crypto whether we like it or not, because everything is going from digital, from analog to digital. And one thing I want to mention at the end, you remember Kodak, the analog photography company? Well, they thought, who the heck would want to have digital photos? And you know what happened to Kodak? And at the same time, that's exactly what's happening now. Again, mass adoption hasn't happened yet, but you want to look at learning about cryptocurrency, educating yourself about cryptocurrency now, because it will impact into your life later. And so cryptocurrency can be a minefield, and that's what I do. I help people navigate it safely, because there is pitfalls. And if you would like more information or book a free consultation with me, introductory consultation, then go to deewakefield.com.au. Thank you.
Yeah, cryptocurrency is the new world, isn't it? Big time, and it's really important. So if you know anyone in regard to crypto, make sure you speak to Dee or refer them to someone who's an expert in it. Over you here, John.
You mentioned about the government, having the government run crypto or in control of crypto, or the Australian crypto. Well, who controls Bitcoin?
So Bitcoin, and that's the beauty about decentralization, the Bitcoin protocol is owned by everyone and no one at the same time. What that means is that as a digital currency, and not going into the specifics because that's actually quite complicated how crypto actually works. Well, it is and it isn't. But the Bitcoin protocol is immutable. It cannot be tampered with. And it's basically given to the world. It's almost like open source that, someone invents an idea, an app, and then gives it to the world. And that's pretty much what Bitcoin is. And that's the beauty about Bitcoin.
But it's pretty volatile. It's gone from like $90,000 down to about 30 something, 39 I think it is at the moment.
Yeah, 42 it is at the moment. Yes, it is and it isn't. And again, the cryptocurrency market is not just Bitcoin. There's a lot of other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
As I said, you've got stable coins like precious metals tokens. And that takes out, if you don't stomach the volatility, precious metals tokens is certainly something to look at. Because at the moment, if you've got savings in the bank, you lose money every month because of inflation. It's as simple as that.
Is there any other little question, and then we'll move on? Over here, Doug.
With crypto, more so Bitcoin, but my understanding is you're more so investing in the technology of blockchain, not so much the currency itself, because obviously it's up and down, as we just heard, it's halved in its value, but the technology itself is what we're investing in, is that right?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning it. Yes, blockchain technology is really what's going to change the world. And one part that is coming is tokenization. So Campbell, you selling houses in future, and that is coming, houses will be tokenized. So that means that the transactions will go through the blockchain, which will make it much more efficient, much more, you've got a trusted transaction between two parties, and it will be easier, it will be quick. If I send, for example, just using Bitcoin as an example, to, let's say, Austria, if I did it through the bank, if I did send value through the bank, it would take me 5 days to clear it. Bitcoin works within 15 minutes, usually. And so there's many, the tokenization, the blockchain technology is really what's going to change the world. And we are going to digitalize everything.
Okay, have you got any other questions?